There we go. Sorry, just waiting for the old stream to come on. Okay, so let's sort out my windows. Sorry about this. This is all a bit very ad hoc this morning. Hello, coders. So what I'm going to do today or this morning is I'm going to attempt to add some tests to the object-oriented PHP project that I'm building. This is a project that I'm building, if you didn't see in the previous streams, this is a project I'm building for FreeCodeCamp. And I'm going to be teaching object-oriented PHP, but through an example. And I believe the vote's still going, I think, where you can vote as to which project I'm going to be building. It's going to be either an invoice app, a note-taking app, and I think there was something else. I can't remember. It's too early in the morning. I haven't had enough caffeine. But you can check on the How to Code Well Twitter account and access that vote and vote if you want to. But right now what I'm doing is I'm continuing on building the foundation works for it. In the last stream, I moaned that I wasn't able to test my work because I didn't have any tests in place. And that's something that I would like to solve today. I was thinking long and hard about this because I wanted to take the view, of course, of, this is just teaching object-oriented programming. That's the remit. However, because I'm building a application, that application needs to be tested. And I was doing all sorts of stuff last week. We built a sort of a routing mechanism, which is in SRC, helper routes. So we created this routing mechanism, which was fine, but it was just going down a rabbit hole that wasn't tested. So what I would like to do today is I would like to add a dependency in this project for Codeception and perhaps PHPStan. I came to the conclusion that the only libraries that I really want in this project is a library or an extension that will help me build this project, not build out functionality for this project. So to keep this project nice and clean and readable and tested, those kind of libraries. So anyway, I've done enough talking. Let me take a look. So we're in Docker Compose right now, and what's going on here is that we're building from this PHP 7.3 Apache stretch image, which is fine, but what we need to have is we need to include Composer, which means that I'm going to need to write a Docker file, use this as the base image, and then install Composer into the Docker image, and then from that I can go into the Docker the Docker container and then install the various bits and pieces. That's a little bit long in the tooth. I think I need, because this is going to be a quick stream today because it's before work. I do need to get on and crack on and do some work in an hour or so. So I think what I'm going to do is, first of all, I think I've got in the console, not the console, where are we? No. Okay, bear with me just a second. I need to get my terminal back up, wherever that's disappeared to. There we go. Still got this stupid cold. I do apologize. So on this local machine, on this host machine, there's already Composer installed. So I could run all of these things from within this local machine, from this host machine. However, I do want to get this all in a Dockerized sort of environment and run all of these things from Docker, because I believe on my host machine PHP-v. Yeah, my host machine has PHP 7.2.15, whereas what I would like is 7.3. So, it's very and I see this all the time where the Composer commands are actually ran against the host machine rather than the container, and because there is that issue with the differences in versions and perhaps extensions, then not all of the things are going to be installed in the right manner. Which means, therefore, if we go to Apache, Let's create a Docker file. I tell you what, yeah, I'll do it from here. Let's now do a from, and where was the thing we want to go from? This is the badger. Copy that, boom, from there. Okay, so now we have a Docker file. We've put it in Apache, which means that I can change this up to be, instead of image, I can now do build. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'll just move this Docker file out to the root directory rather than in Apache itself. Just makes life a little bit easier. So this is now build, and we can build like so. I think I need the context as well. Sorry. Yeah, boom. Okay. Awesome. So we now have this Docker file that we can play with. And what I'm going to just quickly do is bring up a project of mine. I think that one will do. New window. Boom, boom, boom. You can't see this, but I just want something for reference. I'm looking for a command, a run instruction. A run instruction. That's the wrong project, isn't it? That's not gonna help. That's all Python work. That isn't gonna help. Python doesn't use Composer. Don't be silly. It would probably be. Let me try that one. So many projects. Which is why I love Docker, because you can... Yeah, here we go. Here we go. That's what I needed. Let's just copy that. And actually, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, let's copy that badger. Where are we? Copy, 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 copy. Or just Control C. It would be easier. All right, let's just bung that all in. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're doing an apt-get update. We're installing Git and zip. They're the things that I definitely need. Then let's just bring this out to make it a little bit more easier. We do a curl request to get Composer. We pipe that to PHP. We do an install directory. So we put in the composer.far into user local bin, but we give it the file name of Composer. And then we don't do that. That's not what I need. Don't do that. That's not what I need. And let's not do that either. Okay, so I know that there's like a ton of things that you can do with this Docker file just to make it a little bit more streamlined. I ain't worrying about that today, because I need to do this pretty sharpishly. So one thing I should have done a long time ago: Docker machine start, and I cannot remember what it's called. It's in the README file, I think. There we go. Right. That's create. I want start. So Docker machine start. How to code well. OOP PHP boom. So that's going to start that up. Slurp of my tea, which is now going quickly cold. I'm going to have to get another hit of caffeine before I start some other work. Okay, so that's going on. I just have to wait until that goes, I suppose. But we need to have a composer composer.json file, so I can do a composer init, I suppose, and then a composer require to require codeception, and also to require PHPStan. I do like PHPStan. That is awesome. Hopefully I'll have a chance to show you what that is all about. Okay, so that's all started fine. So next thing we can do is an evaluation of those things. Oh, brilliant. I can't. So for some reason, I don't know why, in this version of PHP Storm, I can't copy and paste from the code window to the terminal. I think I mentioned beforehand that I usually use just an iTerm window. Docker Compose. What am I doing? I need to do a an up -d -- build. Boom. Okay, that went lightning fast, but I hope you saw that what we were doing here is doing that run apt-get update and apt-get install git and zip and the curl and the composer and all that other good stuff. So that's now doing its funky thing. It's funky thing. I may need to. So that's installed composer. That's all good. Awesome. So I may need to do. I don't know. Took a PS. My day. Oh no, it is up. I was going to say perhaps I needed to do like a command to run Apache, but that seems to be good. Okay. I suppose before I go any further, because we've done a hell of a lot before I even touch the code. That is what the website looks like. So the website works. So that's cool. It's always good to check your work before you tinker with it. Right. So Docker Compose. We're going to go into exec. We're going to go into what did we call it? We called it something. What did we call it? We called the service web. Docker exe web bash. Boom. So we're in that container. And do we have Composer? Boom. We have Composer. This is all good fun. This is all working. So we can do Composer and then init. Boom. Okay, cool. So this command will guide you through creating your Composer JSON config. What do I want to call this package? I don't know. How to code, well, / I don't know, something like that. I'm not giving you a description. Let's not do an author yet. I just really want to get this running. I really have no idea what the difference is between all of these things. I'm guessing it's a project. No. Don't worry about the license today, although it is MIT. Would you like to define your dependencies interactively? Why don't we do that? So search for a package, code, Subshan. Awesome. It's given me a nice little list. Scroll up to the top. Oh, that's abandoned. That's not good. So I'm guessing it's 0. Yep. So we go 0. Whoop. 0. Thank you. Enter the version constraint, or leave it blank to use latest. Latest is good. I just pressed enter there. Why isn't that picked that up? Okay, here we go. Using blah blah blah. Search for a package. Yes, PHPStan. Would you like to define your dependencies? Bugger. I put these as require rather than require dev. I can sort that out. So this is the old. I didn't actually put PHPStan in there. I'll sort that out. That's no problem. Do you want to confirm? Yes, fine. Yes, I would like to put that in git ignore. Would you like to install all your dependencies now? Well, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have defined them. So yes. So there we go. So I don't know how long this is going to take. Oh, brilliant. Here we go. Something's gone wrong. Codeception, something. Problem 1 requires Facebook WebDriver. And that probably requires something else. Zip is missing from your system. Rubbish. Okay, so I think even though I have the zip, where are we? Here. I think we need to install libzip. I think. I'm going to just double check. Another project. Yeah, PHP. So even though we've installed it, we need to actually install the library. Ugh. So and configure it to. So I'm just gonna grab that badger. It was just zip, I think. So that's what we need to do. We need to install zip and then and git. Then we need to configure zip with libzip, and then we need to install. We don't need to install gd. Install zip. I think that will do. So right, let's come out of this. Let's do an exit. Bye bye. And now let's go up a bit. Build the damn thing again. No, there's an error. So hopefully that will work. But this is the composer.json file that we're building. And I guess at this point I can do require dev, maybe? Let's have a look. What have I got in my... Composer.json. There's a lot of auto-loading stuff. Don't necessarily need to worry about that, I don't think. So, we got require and require dev. That's how you do it. Okay, I just wanted to get the... How are we doing with that? Oh, apparently it's failed. Marvelous. Doing too many things at once now. So it is require... Require dev. I'm going to put in Codeception. Okay, cool. Right. So what's going on here? Trying to configure blah, blah, blah. Missing argument. Oh, okay. Configure bash configure failed. Service web failed to build. Why do I have such a tiny window to work this through? What's going on here? Trying config.sub. Help. What? It's something to do with the... build here. Why can't it just work? Okay, let's have a copy of this. So we're doing an update, then we're doing an install y git, and all of that stuff. Fine. And libzip dev. Do I have libzip dev? No. That might be why. Okay, this I'm just going to copy this, right, and then we'll smash it down. But this is a part of a Docker file from my open source project to do with another thing, but it's pretty spot on. So we will just copy that. And I will remove all the bits that I don't need. So I don't need you. We probably need the unzip. Come on. Don't need you, I don't think. Don't need any of these things. Probably need that. Yeah, libzibdev. I think that's what I was missing. I don't need to do this here. And let's just bring that out, make a little bit more room. So will we need MySQL I? Probably. And PDO. But I'm going to worry about that in another stream. We're not going to config. We don't have any GD libraries going on, so that's fine. Let's get this nice and tight. So we don't need to worry about that. We don't need to worry about mcrypt. I don't think so. Then we can do clean all. Then we can do the RM. Then we can do the enable of mod rewrite, which we don't need. Yeah, so I think the difference that I had before was I wasn't actually passing in the libzib stuff. We're going to just save that and run this again, checking on the time. Let's hopefully this will work. But this is the argument that I was having with myself. It's I need to install a testing framework. Say, oh god, it's failed again. Say, why? Failed, unable to locate package. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, of course. Let's just remove that. Because I should do these in different instructions. It'll make life a lot easier. Because the problem is that I wanted to test my work. I wanted to write some tests out. But I mean, this course is only OOP and PHP, so there's I'm not going to be teaching testing. That's not the remit of this course. But for me to build this application, I want to be able to have tests. I want to be able to run repeatable tests. But to do that, I need to have all of this kit installed in order to do that. It's such an odd sort of like dilemma. It's like, you get told testing is the way to go. You need to test your work. And I'm a massive advocate of that. But before you get to that point, you need to, and if you're in this Docker space, then you need to install all the bits and pieces for that to work. But hey, anyway, right, this isn't getting us anywhere. So service web failed to build. The command blah 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 returned in a non-zero. That's not very helpful, is it? Is it because I'm missing that? Probably. See, this is what happens when you're trying to speed work. You have to appreciate that when I'm normally working, I'm not talking to myself or to an audience. So I have full concentration on what I'm doing. Ba, 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 da, 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 da. I wonder if this is because I'm using Stretch rather than just Apache. I wonder. Whoops. Sorry, I lost my windows then. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. So this is downloading the Apache version, not the Stretch version. So I'm not being specific on Stretch. It could be something else, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. Yeah. Da-na-na. Da-da-da-da-da. Come on. It's not like you're having to download a whole new operating system or anything, is it? Okay, so we'll put PHPStan in there through the require dev command, because I don't know what the version of PHPStan is. That will then do a Codeception bootstrap to build all the bits and pieces, and then we'll do, hopefully, I would like to get to a point where I can write just a simple, at this point, just a simple acceptance test. You know, when I started this stream, I looked back at the homepage just to ensure that it still works, right? That was my sanity smoke test. So if I could get that just running in an acceptance test, just coming back and saying, yes, it's a 200 OK, you haven't blown up the site, that would be a step in the right direction. And then later on, I certainly won't get a chance to worry about it in this stream, but what I would like to do is then start testing all the other bits and pieces. But before that happens, we do need to get this Docker file working. Unable to locate package. It doesn't say which package it wants to locate. apt-get update and apt-get install. All right. Okay, this is getting silly now. So let's just remove. Oops, what have I done? This is getting a bit silly and a bit foolish. So we're going to split these out into separate commands. Whoop. That way, if that layer fails, then I know there's something problem wrong with this. It might be the libzib thing. Unknown extraction. Yeah. Okay, so I am doing a apt-get update. I am doing an apt-get install. Fine. And then we do the libzib dev. Fine. And then we do the Docker exe install. Fine. That's we do a configure of zip, and then we do an installation, and that's running on PHP 7.2, whereas this is 7.3. I suppose I could try that, although this doesn't appear to be the problem. This is a parse error, unknown instruction. Because and the instruction that's failed is the configure instruction. Docker PHP ext configure zip with libzib. And it's because it needs to be an apt-get install, I think. Because this is all and I think. Maybe. I'll tell you what. So what was the first error above that? Unable to locate the package. So I'm wondering if one of these packages has changed. I'm going to just do something a little bit cray-cray. Let's just... this is an old I'm just going to copy this. This is an old an oldie world Docker file. Doesn't do anything crazy. It's just PHP 7.2 rather than 7.3. This is the example that I was using. It's got a whole bunch of other stuff that's installed, but I'm just unsure whether they've changed in 7.3 one of these packages. So let's just run that. We probably will need all of this stuff. We'll probably need, we'll certainly need the MySQL and the PDO stuff. We may need the simple XML, don't know about that. We probably won't need the GD stuff, so I can remove that later on. I think what I'll do is if we can get this to work, I'll keep it as is, and then offline I'll go through it, because there's a ton of stuff here I don't need, like the libpungs and all that job. Unfortunately, when you're building Docker files like this, it is a case of trial and error. You'll find that because you're using a smaller Docker file, which is this one here, you're not actually going with any kind of any kind of dependencies. It is just PHP 7.2 and Apache. So you are left with the raw deal here. So you do need to then go off and install bits and pieces. But I know that this Docker file works because I've used it in Anger, or at least I did last month at least. This is off the back of the Concrete 5 app that I built. It's a Concrete 5 installation that I open sourced. So I know that this should work. So you can see it's doing a whole bunch of compiling to compile all of these extensions and these configurations and so forth. So that's cool. What are we doing for time? We've got 8:30. Okay, so hopefully we can get to a point where this is done and we can get the Codeception installed, I hope. And this is the problem with programming, right? Because you go, right, I'm gonna do some testing today, and then you end up with so in order to do that, I'm gonna need to install Composer, right? Okay, so in order to do that, I need to install all of these packages, right? Okay, so that's worked. And then it's like, okay, so now I need to install zip, now I need to install git, now I need to do this, now I need to do that. And before you know it, like hours and hours have gone, you've just created this monster, this Frankenstein thing. Frankenstein was the surgeon, not the monster. But you end up with such a big thing, and it's so you spent so much time on it, and it's like all I wanted to do was write a test. So anyway, here we go. These are all good. Let me just see if they're all running. PS-A, which they are not. Wow, look at all of that. Oh, that one is. Let me do a Docker. Docker sear. I don't want to do a system prune. Let's just remove some of these. RM minus F. FreeCodeCamp. That's fine. That's the database. Gracious boy. D or whatever it's called. That can go. Bye bye. What else have we got? Why is it all gracious? Okay. It wasn't very gracious when it failed. So Docker PS-A. What's you? Thirsty something or other. Docker RM minus F. Boom. Oh, crikey, there's more. More failed attempts of getting this to work. Docker RM minus F. That one. And there was another one. This one. Docker rm -f, boom, Docker ps -a. There she is. Right, okay, so we've got this this thing now working. Copy Docker ex Docker compose. I can probably go up a couple of times on the keyboard. Blah 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 blah. We're looking for the Docker compose build. There she is. Okay, cool. So we're in here. We should also still have Composer, which we do, which is all good. Let's do a Composer install. Ba ba ba. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. Updating the dependencies. Come on, give me my vendor folder. Give me my vendor folder. That's the wrong project. There we go. Yay! We have a vendor folder and we have things installing. This is exciting and good news. I thought this is going to just be a massive failure and I would end up closing the stream and having a little cry in the corner because I couldn't get my Docker to work. When did I turn into a Docker dev? Why, or a dev doing Docker? I remember the good old days when it was just PHP. I woke up this morning going, right, okay, I'm going to do some codeception today. You know that meme of SpongeBob SquarePants where it's like 1 hour later. Come on, PHP unit, install. Codeception. This is getting exciting now. Woo! Come on, Codeception, install. Just waiting for this to go. God, there's so much. I want to have a testing framework. You need all of these things. Yikes. Look at all of that. Look at all of that. Beautiful. And there we go. Codeception. Marvelous. That's installing. 3.0.1. Fancy. And there we go. We have some suggestions, which is nice. I like it when it does that. Okay, cool. So we now have vendor, we have composer, and oh, that doesn't look good. Where are all my packages? Let's do an ls of vendor. Maybe my git, my PHP Storm hasn't been updated. It hasn't been updated. Silly. There we go. You can see them all coming through. It's indexing. It's indexing. It's all right. Panic over. It's indexing. And vendor bin codecep. Boom. Okay. Right, let's get this party started, shall we? The whole point of this stream. Come on, finish your indexing. Thank you. Right. So, I can now do vendor bin codeception. Woo! And I believe if we do just help. All right, so it's now list, is it? There we go. So this is all the good stuff. So that's the command I'm after, the bootstrap command, because this creates default test suites and generates all required blah 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 files. That would be nice. So let's go up on that. It is bootstrap. There we go. Boom. Awesome. And let's see what's going on here. We have probably going to need to do this from outside of the container rather than inside the container, I think. Whoopsie. No, we don't. Sorry, no, we don't. So we have our test things. That's all exciting. So we have acceptance tests, functional tests, and unit tests. Delightful. Okay, and we should also have a Codeception YAML file in the root directory, which is all good things. Okay, so excellent. Okay, so I need to change that at some point because that's still going to localhost, and for some reason they expect it to be in my app, which just doesn't work. This is great because you get to see an example here. I love it when command line tools do this and they say this is what you need to do, which is very helpful. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to write a simple. I shouldn't say the word simple because it never is, as you've witnessed with the Docker. What I'm going to do is just do a bin codecep, and then it's a G for generate, CEST, and we are going to do an acceptance. And we're going to do home page. Okay, so that now creates the home page SEST. So it's here, homepage SEST. Boom. So that creates this, the basic sort of template of a test for an acceptance test. And this is the test that we need. So we're going to just do try, well, it needs to be suffixed with the word test. So we can do default test, right? So this is just checking. Actually, we can just do default response. And here we've got the I, and the I, variable I, is the acceptance tester. So we can do I, and what I like doing is I like putting in some text. So I want to test the response code for the home page. Okay, let me drag that out because you can't see that. It's horrible. There we go. Okay, so that sort of like says what it's going to do, and then you can do I am on page / right? So that's home page, and then you can do I C. Can never remember. C response code is 200. Whoa! Wow. Now so that basically mimics me going to the home page and pressing refresh and going, yes, the home page still works. This test is a test that I do in pretty much most of my projects. On the pages, they just crawl the pages and just tell me that things are working. This is fantastic for legacy code, legacy projects where you get put on a legacy project and it say, hundreds and hundreds of pages, and you're like, I don't know whether these work or not. So just writing these little tests, these things, it gives you a feedback, gives you a very tight, small feedback loop that you can run as soon as you pick up this project. And you go, yes, I am confident that I get a 200 OK. Now, obviously, you can go into a lot more detail with the whole acceptance test. You can check for various things. You can do XPath. You can do all sorts of crazy and weird and wonderful stuff. You can also submit forms as well, which is awesome. So you can mimic the behavior of a user, which is great. Which is what I'm kind of doing here in a very light way. All I'm doing is just going to a page and pressing refresh. Now, what I need to do, by purpose, I'm going to leave the this like so, because I want this to throw a wobbly. So let's do, actually that's probably not going to work because I do have things running on localhost. Okay, that isn't going to work. 192, what's my, let's come out of the container because I can't remember what my IP address is. Docker machine IP how to code. Well, OOP PHP. What is the IP? There we go. Okay, so the IP is 192.168.100. We don't need any of this crazy stuff because we don't have that. So we're going to hit save. Now, what we can do is we can jump back straight into the container again, and we can do remove all that. So vendor, excuse me, vendor bin, and we can just simply do a run. So that will run. So it's trying to test the response code of the home page, and then hopefully, although I've just thought I'm running this within the container, and that's probably going to fail because the container itself doesn't see that IP. So that's a bit of a problem. Let's go and, so what I'm saying is if if I do an exit, and then we're now on the host machine. So I'm going to mile a minute, sorry. So if we do vendor bin codecep run, so we're doing it from the host machine. Let's see. Come on. Come on. 192.168. Ah, I've got the IP wrong. I have the IP wrong. That's why it's probably freaking out. 99.100. There we go. Save that. Boom. So there we go. It ran. We have one test, one assertion. The assertion being that we are... Where are we? I can't find the file now. Acceptance. So this is the assertion. We are asserting, we are checking that the response code is 200. We get a deprecation warning. Thank you for that. It's done no unit tests. It's done no functional tests, but it has done a acceptance test, and we have a tick here. So let's see, what else can we do? What's the time? Time is 8:45. So I'm going to have to shoot soon, which is a shame because I need to get on and do some paid work. But what else can we quickly do? Browser. There we go. Okay, so this is the website in all its glory. Now we have, you probably can't see this because it's teeny tiny, but we have a title in here. So what I could do is just change that to be something else, or we could check for that. This is a test. Let's try that. Let's close that down. Come on, off. I see you could do IC element, right? And you could put in an element that you want to see based on a selector. So in this case, sorry, let's go back to here. So in this case, you could see the nav maybe. So it's ID page. You could do that. Div ID page. That's a good example, I suppose. ID page content. You got header. You got nav. You got LIs. Yeah. So you could traverse the whole thing, see what the elements are. Let me just double check. Oh. Hello, sorry guys. I'm so like focused on what I'm doing. I forgot the chat. Hey guys. Hey Natsak. Hey IP. How's it all going? Thank you for joining. Yeah, Screwed up on that IP address. I missed the 99. What a moron. What a moron. Yeah, so going back to here, looking at the time, that's fine. So we've got the IC element selector. So you can do various bits and pieces in here. You can also do IC in title. IC. So let's just do homepage like that, right? And then let's run this, and it should fail flat on its face. Yep, boom. So it's done now 2 assertions. I don't know if you can see it. Assertions are 2, failures are 1. And it's failed because it's failing to assert that title contains homepage. Let's fix that. So let's go back to where are we in this crazy world? src. No, it's not in there. It's in public. Views, templates, home, base. Okay, so I will need to change this to be a parameter that I can pass through, but I can just do home page like so, and then run this again, and it should have passed because that's now checking that there is home page within this title. So if anything I could show you today, I do apologize about all the mentalness with the Docker stuff earlier. Its Codeception is awesome because you can start, building some nice little acceptance tests and behavioral tests. You can go from one page to another page. You can check all sorts of various bits within it. I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be certainly using it to check the code that I wrote. Was it yesterday? The day before? It was the day before. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. The code that I wrote for the routing. So I built this router where we can register routes and all of this jazz and a processor. I basically wrote all of this stuff off of the back of just my thoughts. I didn't actually plan ahead. And so I've got zero confidence that this actually well, it does work. I've tried it out by refreshing the page, but I think that it needs to be heavily refactored. It needs to be heavily altered and changed. Same with the kernel. Same with the autoloader. There is an awful lot of messy code in here, and I would like to refactor this whilst I start building the tests. So I think in the next few streams, I think I'm going to create some unit tests. The acceptance test is great because it's just sort of like a sanity smoke test, which is awesome. Before I go, I just want to try and do something, which is PHPStan before I shoot. So I'm just going to dive right back into the container if I can find that command, and we're just going to do composer require dev, and I don't know, is it PHPStan stroke PHPStan maybe? Let's see. Nope, of course it isn't. Require dev is not defined because I need to do require and I think I need to do env equals dev. Is that correct? I don't know. Probably not. No, of course not. It's not env. That's the Symfony way of doing it. It's just dev. There we go. So quickly, hopefully, this will install PHPStan 0.11.8, which is cool because I think I'm on 0.10 on some of the projects. So now I know that I'll update all the projects, or at least the project I'm going to be working on in a few minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run PHPStan. It's a static analyzer. Static analyzer. I can't say that. Analysis. Analyzer. Anyway, it runs it checks your code in a static analysis for all sorts of issues. It's a fantastic, absolutely fantastic project. I do highly recommend every PHP developer using PHPStan. Codeception is great. Definitely need to test your code. It's like the sugar on top of PHP unit. So, you know, at the very least, use PHP unit. PHPStan, however, it's just like some crazy black magic that will give you a report of things that you need to adjust and fix. And because I built a load of code without really testing it, without trying it, I'm sure there's a bunch of problems. So anyway, we can do vendor, we can do bin, we can do PHP, hopefully Stan. Yep, okay. And this is where I get my spelling completely wrong. So I'm just going to see if there's a help file. Of course, it's list, not... Ugh. When did we change from help to list? Okay, here we go. So that's what I needed. It's an analysis. Analysize. I don't know. Yeah. Why... I can't even spell it right when it's right in front of me. There we go. Analyze source code. All right. So you need to give it a level. And we're just going to go level 3, I guess. You also need to give it a path. So of where you want to do the analysis. So we're not going to worry about tests. We're going to go straight into SRC. So this is going to analyze all of these things. So we just do SRC. Now, usually what I have is when I do my work, I have another just window, another monitor, and it's just got this running. Yeah, so it's seen, you can't see it very well because of the contrast, but it's 12 errors, right? And the errors are things like, so this is a problem with the composer issue. This is an autoloader issue. Is there any other issues? They're mostly autoloader issues, which is fine. Here we go. So in the kernel, so we've instantiated class, but that can't be found. So that's the problem with the autoloader. That's fine. But we've got here call to method make on an unknown class. Call to method process on an unknown class. Once the autoloader is wired up, which is something I will be doing later on, I don't have time to do it now, in the sense of once it's wired up to Composer, because if I go back to the, where are we? If I go back to the helper, the kernel, the autoloader, sorry, this is my custom autoloader. Which I don't necessarily need to do anymore because now we're using Composer. I could use the Composer autoloader, which is far better than this. However, in the object-oriented course that I'm doing for FreeCodeCamp, I would like to talk about autoloading. So I might see if I can sort of retrofit this in, maybe sort of like use Composer's autoloader and then use this one. Because I like the fact that this is a good example to talk about when I'm teaching object-oriented programming. It's the way of auto-loading your classes and stuff. But PHPStan is using the autoloader in vendor, in where are we? Composer. The autoloader, it's probably using something like the class loader. And you can see that we have a class map here, right? So this is the class map of all the packages that I've installed. So once I start using the Composer autoloader, all of the classes in the SRC directory here would be in there as well. Yeah. So, but anyway, going back to PHPStan quickly, once I have this all wired up using Composer's autoloader, it can see it and it will analyze the files using some crazy black magic, which will tell me whether properties are wrong, whether parameters are wrong, whether signatures are incorrect, whether the returns are in the wrong place. It's a really nifty tool. I can't really show you without having the autoloaders sort of wired up. But I'll probably do that in the next stream at least. But anyway, I have literally got a few more minutes before I have to head off. But I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea because I'm getting a little bit tired in the throat, and I need another caffeine hit because today is going to be a super busy day. I'm working on Ajax JavaScript. I'm working on APIs in PHP, and I've got a whole ton of emails to go through. So anyway, this is moving in the right direction. I know it's slow. Docker was a real pain in the bum earlier. I do apologize. But anyway, for anyone who's asking in the chat, I've just seen what am I coding up? Okay, so I'm doing a course for FreeCodeCamp. So my YouTube channel is How to Code Well, and that teaches code. I've been teaching code for a long time. PHP, Python, Docker, Linux, JavaScript, all of that good stuff. And FreeCodeCamp got in touch and asked if I could do a PHP OOP course for them. And I said, yeah, fine, that's awesome. I've already got a PHP OOP course on my channel. However, it just shows you the sort of like the things that you the sort of the concepts. So this is abstract, this is static, this is inheritance, right? It doesn't actually show you an example. It doesn't show you how you can use that in practice. So I came up with this crazy notion, and it's now taking me a long time to do, of building an application. So building an application without any frameworks, without any libraries, without anything. That's why I was a bit on the debate side as to whether or not I should test the stuff, because testing would require a library, PHP unit. So I put on Twitter, I think there is still a vote going on. I think today or tomorrow will be the last day of the vote, where I asked people what they wanted me to build. A note-taking app, a to-do app, and I think there was another one, and the ability to put in a suggestion. Oh, an invoicing app. And I believe the invoicing app is winning. So that is what we're going to be building out in this project. Now, I'll just show you quickly before I shoot. So we have, I've created a controller, entity, form, helper, repository folders, and we're not using any kind of, we're not using Doctrine, we're not using the frameworks. It would be so much easier if I could, but I want to be teaching, like abstract repository. This is an abstract class. This is visibility scopes. The reason why I need to have the find one by and the find alls is because these extend the abstract repository, and therefore they require those abstract methods, that kind of thing. We've also got a controller, abstract controller with the home. So I'm slowly building this out, and regardless of what app I'm going to build, it needs to have these kind of foundation stones. So by accident, I'm kind of by accident, I'm kind of building a framework, and this is certainly not going to be production ready. Definitely not. Yeah, I need an application to then teach the OOP principles. So yeah, that's basically how it's sort of. And I started this a few days ago. This is how it's kind of the chips have fallen, really. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm building. I'm building a invoicing app, potentially, depending on the vote, for FreeCodeCamp, teaching object-oriented programming. And what I'm doing in these streams, of course, is that I'm going through the motions of actually building this application. I'm not actually teaching OOP through these live streams. I'm just setting things up, which I think is valuable in its own right. Anyway, I'm going to shoot because I need to start doing some paid work. But take care, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Happy coding, everyone. And yeah, do check out the podcast as well, howtocodewell.fm. I do a podcast every Friday. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.